The House will come back to order. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move we proceed out of order for third reading of bill's final passage. That's on page 2 of the calendar.
Seeing no objection, we'll proceed out of order. For consideration of third reading of bills final passage, bills will be read by title unless there's a request for reading the bill at length. Mr. Neiman, please read the title to Senate Bill 245.
Senate Bill 245 by Senator Sandoval, also Representative Shaver, concerning changes to conform to portions of Federal Public Law 110-351 relating to kinship.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move Senate Bill 245 on third reading and final passage.
Representative Frangas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I ask to offer permission for a dreaded third reading amendment. Thank you.
Please proceed.
Members, what this amendment does, this is a great bill. It takes care of grandparents raising grandchildren, and we had a good discussion about it, and we discussed the fact that there wasn't funding to do some of the things in the bill. What I'm trying to do is, with your support, of course, is to fund this bill incrementally and fund it through 1366, which was the capital gains tax bill, which the fiscal note showed $7.7 million. Some of that money was trailed off, but then it goes into $17.7 million, and some of it was trailed off with the amendment too. But there's an initial one-time payment to fund trails so that this can be started up of $86,000, and then there's a payment in 2010 of $276,000 to fund the permanent guardianship. But at this point, I'll ask for permission, and then I'll explain it more in detail why I think we really need to do this.
Any further discussion on Representative Frangas' requests for permission to offer a third reading amendment? Seeing none, the question before the House is granting Representative Frangas permission to offer a third reading amendment. Mr. Neiman, please open the machine and members proceed to vote.
How are you feeling?
Representatives Hollinghorst, Judd, Liston, Middleton, and Soper. Here you go, Kevin. Representative Hollinghorst. Close the machine. With 64 aye votes, 0 no votes, and 1 excused, Representative Frangas is granted permission to offer a third reading amendment. Representative Frangas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, members. Again, I'll go over this bill and why I think we need it. The first part of the amendment funds a one-time payment.
Representative Frangas, you have to move your amendment.
Oh, thank you, sir. I'm sorry. I move amendment L005.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Thank you, sir. Members, this amendment takes, like I said before, a one-time payment to make the computer system work that tracks all this stuff and prints the checks. And it's, I have some concerns about that in general, but this is what it costs to do this, and that's an $80K payment. Then the second part of the amendment takes a one-time payment for kin, which is grandparents, uncles, aunts, etc., who are taking kids into care through permanent guardianship. And let me explain why this is so important. Caseworkers, when a kid's in abuse and neglect situation, is in the system, gets put into permanent guardianship, they're being put with a family member permanently because the situation with the biological parents is so difficult that they can't do it, or they're just not there, or whatever. So the family member takes the kid on without expectation of support. What caseworkers do when this are abuse and neglect cases is they try to find resources for the family. And in good times, members, this is really hard. I've done this before, and it might be everything from a bunk bed or let alone something that's nice like a bicycle. That you're just trying to find shoes for kids. You might have a kid with size 15 feet. You wouldn't believe how hard it is to find shoes or to get shoes for these kids. This is to make sure that they have money to take that kid in, to make sure it's done smoothly, and you're not putting the whole family and that child into a very difficult situation. This is a great bill. We need to fund this. It comes out of money from the capital gains reversion. Both times are a one-time payment. And then this is the really nice thing about this bill. It takes foster care payments and puts those towards the family. Right now they currently get, I think it's $99 a month to raise a kid in their family that they were never expecting. And so it gives that family foster care payment, which when you implement that, the state ends up actually saving money, and the kids are with their biological family or somebody that they have a very close tie to. So it's really a great thing, and I think we have a funding stream here, and I think in the long run this will save a lot of money just in terms of helping kids adapt.
Members, I remind you that we're sitting as a body for third reading. Please bring the noise level down. Representative Frangas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, we just got done with Child Abuse Prevention Month. Kids end up in permanent guardianship a lot of times due to abuse and neglect, and I think we should give grandparents raising grandkids a chance and adequate resources. This is a one-time spending for a very good thing. It helps this bill take off and reach greater plateaus, so I urge an aye vote.
Representative Marostica.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative, so I'd like to go to lines 8 through 13 there, and I don't remember in the Joint Budget Committee them saying that there was a problem with this funding. They never brought it up as one of their primary when the department came before us. So I guess I don't know where the $86,000 figure, where'd you come up with that?
Representative Frangas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Marostica, it's right here on the fiscal note. It's at the bottom of page 3.
Representative Marostica.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So it had to do with the OIT costs. Okay, thank you, Representative Frangas.
Thank you, sir.
Any further discussion on Representative Fisher?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Representative Frangas, for this creative idea. I support it wholeheartedly and hope that the body will vote to adopt this amendment. As I mentioned yesterday, I work with a group up in Larimer County called the Larimer County Alliance for Grand Families that I'll tell you, if you meet with some of these folks and see what they're trying to do as grandparents or other kinship kin providers, then I think you'll understand very quickly that there's a huge need out there, and a lot of people are just barely getting by and having, out of the goodness of their hearts, taken in children of their children or siblings or what have you. So thank you, Representative Frangas, for thinking of this, and I urge an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L005? Representative Schaefer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank Representative Frangas, Representative Fisher for bringing this very creative idea to support what we all clearly know is a big need in our state. We have grandparents living on Social Security who have all of a sudden had guardianship of 2 or 3 teenagers. Imagine what that's like. I think this is a very reasonable approach to giving a little start to the bill that did not have this appropriation originally, and I ask for an aye vote on L005.
No.
Representative Palmer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill is funded. It came out of appropriations funded. So it's funded because there's actually savings involved. So if the amendment, I mean, this money for trails, I'm sure trails can use the money, but it doesn't affect the bill itself. So if this amendment were to fail, the bill is still fine and is still funded. But I'm sure trails could use additional money and this wouldn't hurt. I think this 1366 is like chumming a Shark Tank right now. But so I just want to make it clear that the bill is funded without this. So whatever happens on the amendment, there's no reason to believe the bill is not funded. It came out of approps funded.
Representative Frangas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, the parts that are, the reason that we need the funding in these certain parts is that they can't start processing all the stuff with this computer system. They can't start processing the checks for permanent guardianship and whatnot. And then secondly, the situations I talked about with the size 15 shoes and trying to find bunk beds, we all know what's happened to charities out there. We all know what's happened to businesses that in the past have been benevolent. They can't be there for families now, not through any fault of their own, but through the fault of a bad economy. Having this one-time permanent guardianship payment makes sure that that these kids walk into a family with the basic needs met. I mean, this is not luxuries. This is beds. This is shoes. This is, this is really important. I hope you'll vote yes.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before the House is the adoption of Amendment L005. Mr. Neiman, please open the machine and members proceed to vote.
Okay, this you called the wrong number. You called the House of Representatives, and you've actually called the floor in line session. No, I can't talk right now.
Representatives Marostica, Massey, and Vod. Close the machine. With 34 aye votes, 30 no votes, and 1 excused, Amendment L005 is adopted. To the bill, is there any further discussion? Representative Schaefer.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I just want to remind you that this bill is very important for all of the adult relatives and grandparents whose own children may become addicts, they may be in prison, they may have moved out of state, and this will expedite the placement of these children. It will allow these grandparents and relatives, often whom are in very low income brackets, to give these children their family connections that they very seriously need. And I ask for your aye vote on Senate Bill 245.
Representative Giroux.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I was a yes vote on this yesterday. I thought it was a great idea. With all due respect to Representative Frangas, I am now a no. I'd ask you to please vote no.
Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 245? Seeing none, the question before the House is the adoption of Senate Bill 245 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Neiman, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Close the machine. With 40 aye votes, 24 no votes, and 1 excuse, Senate Bill 245 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Close the machine. Mr. Neiman, please read the title to Senate Bill 235.
Senate Bill 235 by Senators Gibbs and Iscaro, also Representative Merrifield, concerning certain fees charged by the Division of Wildlife.